and welcome to the Divorce Women's Guide podcast, where we talk about the things us divorcees are thinking, but not always talking about, as we turn our divorce into the best gift we've ever been given. And I do so with a little bit of sass and a whole lot of class. I am your host, Wendy Sterling, founder of the Divorce Rehab. I am here to support you in this transition phase of your life so you can start your new best chapter on your own terms. After all, that's what I did after my own divorce. And now it is my mission to change the conversation around divorce and help you see why your divorce, like mine, was the best gift you ever received. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Divorce Women's Guide podcast. I am so excited to be here with you guys today, and I want to talk to you guys today on this episode about something that recently happened to me. And I know that I don't say that very often, but this is something that actually I got injured. So some of you know because you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, but 2 weeks ago from yesterday, when I'm recording this podcast, by the time it airs, maybe it'll be 3 weeks, but 2 weeks ago, I was out on a walk/run with my dog, Max. And I saw uneven pavement, and yet somehow my left foot managed to wedge itself just right that I felt a twist, a crack, and a really ugly crunch. And down I went. And I fell down on one of the busier streets in my neighborhood that people use to commute to get to work, which would be normally more busy pre-COVID, but nonetheless, there was a car that saw me literally like crumble under my ankle, and she stopped and she asked if I was okay, and I was so in shock that I just said, I have no idea. And I was laying there on the ground, and I was in so much pain. And at the same time, I also felt an enormous amount of just stupidity, like point blank. I felt so incredibly stupid. And I don't normally say that. I don't normally like to admit that I felt really stupid in that moment, because that's me saying that I have negative self-talk, which I tell you guys, I'm no different than you. But in that moment, that's what I felt. And then what came over me next was this feeling of, oh my God, I am literally alone. Like, that's what I thought, right? My kids were with their dad. I was with the dog, and I don't have anybody that lives with me. And I'm laying there on the ground going, how the heck am I going to get myself home to get myself to the doctor? Because I really thought I broke something. And in that split second, the first default, of course, even though it's been 4 years, my first default was, oh my God, I have to call my ex-husband to drive me home. I don't, like, who am I going to call, right? And that was me on autopilot, instead of remembering that my best friend lives like 5 minutes away. I have the numbers of 3 of my neighbors. And, when I came to my senses, I realized that I wasn't alone, that I had a lot of resources, and, realizing that it was, I thought at the time, not too far to walk. I decided to be my stubborn self and, hobble myself home and get myself to the doctor. So I'm not here to talk to you about this story and tell you all the details, but I am excited to say that because I acted so quickly and I was in a cast for 2 weeks, I actually just got my cast off yesterday, and I'm now wearing a brace. I'm walking. My ankle feels great. And over the last 2 weeks, I have been really thinking hard about, why did this happen for me, right? At the beginning of the episode, I said something happened to me. And what I ended up realizing was that my ankle injury was happening for me. Why do I think that? Well, looking at my life the 2 months before, I was in complete and utter, I was in constant movement. I was I wouldn't even call it momentum. I think I was like a chicken with running around with its head cut off, putting out fires, managing what I had to in that particular moment, throwing out all sorts of different things in different areas of my life, hoping it would stick. And what I realized I was doing was I was doing everything that I don't teach you all to do, right? Again, I'm human too. But what I realized was that I was like throwing spaghetti at a wall, hoping something was going to stick eventually, and that would make me feel grounded. And what I came to realize was that this ankle injury happened for me because it forced me to not only slow down, right? I was in a cast. Thankfully, I could walk on it, but it forced me to slow down. And it also forced me to start getting laser focused on what it was that was most important for me to do. And it also gave me the clarity to also see that this ankle injury was a hidden blessing. I know that probably sounds weird to some of you, but think about it. Think about when you get sick, right? You typically get sick when you are just going, right? Illness is your body's response to you having some sort of next level that you're about to achieve. You get sick because you're running, and then you know that that next level is going to come, and it manifests its way into your life this way. So the reason I'm saying this to you guys and what I'm trying to explain actually has to do with, I don't know if any of you guys have read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's a great book. And those of you who are watching me on video, I'm showing the book. But there's something that he calls like the upper limit problem. And essentially what that means is that, you know, throughout life, we are constantly hitting a glass ceiling, and then we get to break through that glass ceiling. And then we go on, you know, our merry way and live our life. And then there's another ceiling that we come up against, and we get to break through that. Well, what I've noticed the pattern is in my life is I typically have a breakdown right before I'm about to break through. So not only did my ankle injury physically slow me down, but what it also created for me in my life was I needed to not only slow down, I needed to take a breath, right? I needed to invest in more self-care for myself. And it also meant that I got to rely on other people to support me, which is really hard for me. It's really hard for me to ask for help. I've gotten so much better. My divorce has actually enabled me to get a lot better at asking people for help. But my ankle injury really forced me to have to rely on others and ask for support. Hey, it's Wendy here. I wanted to take a quick break from the conversation to let you know about another free event I'm hosting on Tuesday, September 29th about divorce and narcissism. If you're somebody who is divorcing a narcissist or someone with narcissistic characteristics, this is something you don't want to miss. You will learn what you need to know before you divorce a narcissist, how to successfully negotiate with one, learn financial hacks, how to set boundaries and co-parent with a narcissist, and so much more. The event is free and it's live, and all you have to do is register today by visiting divorceandnarcissism.com. Again, the event is live on Tuesday, September 29th, so block your calendar today. And now let's jump back into the conversation. The reason being that it was a reminder to me that yes, I am an entrepreneur. Yes, I run my business. And at the same time, I don't have to do it by myself. I get to ask for help along the way. And so my ankle injury was a reminder to me of all these things, you guys. It was one of those things where I was like, okay, if I look back to everything that's been going on up until the day that I hurt myself, I was just going, and I was throwing spaghetti at a wall, like I said. And then it wasn't until I got injured that I finally slowed down. I finally took a breath. because I had my breakdown. My breakdown was me laying on the sidewalk in excruciating pain, crying, seeing stars. I almost passed out. And that was a low point for me. And sometimes it manifests in an illness. I have a client I talked to today. She was really sick. And it's because that was the lesson coming to her that, here's the illness coming. It's taking you away from your life. It's forcing you to kind of reevaluate how you've been doing things, or maybe who it is that is in your life. And you're now being forced to actually take a look at your trajectory and see what gets to happen to overcome the breakdown, right? So what I've realized in my career is that I always have a breakdown before I have a breakthrough, right? It's kind of like, I say, and I've said this before, to me, it's kind of like the universe hands me a 2x4, right? My breakdown is a 2x4. And even me just declaring that right now is basically making it a reality, right? I say that what we think we create, right? But the breakdown gets to happen in order for us to develop ourselves and improve our life. And typically, the bigger the change, the bigger the breakdown. Right? My ankle, this is like the biggest, this is pretty big in my world, right? And I know that it happened for me because I am on a trajectory, right? And so instead of allowing it to slow me down, I've actually used it to push me forward. And the pushing me forward doesn't necessarily mean that I have to constantly be in action or doing. It means that by pushing me through it, right? Keeping it's more along the lines of just reinstilling my faith in what I already know is going to happen is already in place. And this is a piece to that puzzle, right? There is a breakthrough that is on its way. And I want you guys to think about the impact that maybe it's your divorce. Maybe you got sick. Maybe you too hurt yourself, right? I thankfully didn't break my ankle. It was just a torn ligament. But think about an experience where you had a breakdown before you experienced a breakthrough, or perhaps now is the time for you to pay attention to when this will happen next. And if you're having trouble thinking about it, it's usually because it's being overshadowed by the positive times, but just keep that question top of mind. Because when you notice that pattern, right, which, I often use the tug of war analogy, or metaphor, it's actually going to continue to empower you to maintain faith in universe, spirit, God, whatever it is that propels you forward. And, I mentioned Gay Hendricks and sort of how he talks about this upper limit problem. Essentially what he says that is like we all have this inner thermostat, right? And this thermostat is sort of our thermostat of the amount of good, happy that we have in our lives. And when we're about to cross that threshold into territory that we've never experienced before, right? Which could be exponential amazingness, we're afraid that the scale is going to tip too far over. So what ends up happening is that triggers our subconscious to inevitably notice that our equilibrium is about to be off, right? And sometimes we just look for something to get upset about, or we pick a fight, or you have an accident, right? Or perhaps you have a tech crisis, right? Or something else, whatever it is, right? But regardless of how, it's not about whether it's a big or small event, we get to choose to not be attached to what that outcome was, right? Instead of me attaching myself to the outcome of the fact that I'm in a cast and I tore the ligament in my ankle, I instead chose to see that, thank God, it was not my right foot, because then I couldn't drive. And okay, this is now forcing me to slow down. Now I get to let other people take care of me. So I'm going to make the most and the best out of this situation. And so that enabled me to be able to see a positive aspect to the experience that I was having. So if you find yourself in a similar position where you are hitting that upper limit again and going through a breakdown, just take a minute and ask yourself what was going on before that happened. And get refocused on where you get to go moving forward. What's the lesson in what is happening for you in this moment, right? You get to, I say there's power in the pause. That's where you just take a breath, right? And remember I said I called myself stupid? Well, that's something that I'm encouraging you guys not to do. Don't blame yourself, right? It's all part of the growing process. It's all part of breaking through that ceiling, right? And instead, give yourself the power of the pause. Take a beat, journal, figure out what is actually going on here. And then see what the glass half full looks like, right? Me saying, thank God it wasn't my right foot. Thank God I'm not on crutches, right? And then remind yourself, what's your why, guys? Why are you on this earth? Why are you here? What is it that you want what is it that you want for your life, right? Where is it that you get to go? And even when you think that something is actually slowing you down, that may actually be the exact thing that is meant to propel you forward. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because sometimes our breakdowns are the rocket ship that we need, that we get to have, that enables us to really get into a place where we are just, it's like getting on the rocket ship to the next level of where you get to go. And, Gay Hendricks calls this the zone of genius, right? And that's the place where you shine. That's where your gifts come through. And my zone of genius is always seeing the silver linings, right? I could see silver linings. I do for my clients every day, all day, right? I bust through my upper limits. I make shit happen in my life, and I don't let a cast on my foot stop me or slow me down. Because what's more important is understanding where it is that I get to go as a result of what is happening for me, right? I could have let this completely derail me, right? And I chose not to, because I knew it was me coming up against my ceiling, my upper limit problem, right? I listened to where I was supposed to go next, right? The upper limit problem is meant to be an instigator, right? It's a problem creator, right? So when things are going really well, it throws you a curveball. It gives you a problem to have to solve, right? And you get to push through that and see what the silver lining is. Don't let it distract you, right? Let it propel you forward, right? It's time for you to take charge of your life, but also see the gifts in what happens for you. So I hope that resonated with you guys. I would love to hear your feedback on today's episode. You guys can always reach out to me and send me an email, wendy@wendysterling.net. You are also welcome to shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger. I would love to hear any and all comments and questions. You guys know I'm always happy and open to listen. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Sending you tons of love, light, and joy as always. Mwah. I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorced Woman's Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, please share this episode with someone you know or spread the word on social media. This is how I reach more divorcees around the world and provide them with the support they need to create their next best life. And I would also love to continue the conversation with you. So please friend me on Facebook, join my private Facebook group, The Divorce Rehab, and follow me on Instagram at Divorce Rehab with Wendy. I'll see you next time.